Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Once again, we're blessed to have Dr. Hardt with us today. Dr. Hardt, thank you so much again for being here.
My great pleasure to talk with you, Doug.
Oh, well, Dr. Hardt, one of the questions that we often get is, how do I know this program is the right program for me? I know it's a loaded question, but what would you say to somebody that is asking that currently?
Well, several things, several directions. One is that of the maybe 7,000 people who've done this training, there's only one thing that's common to all of them. And that is they have an interest in and a desire for change in some aspect of their lives. So if you have a desire for change in your life, you want something to be less, maybe anger, impatience, hostility, fear, sadness, or you want something to be more like happiness, joy, vigor, enthusiasm, IQ, emotional intelligence, creativity. Well, then guess what? This is the training program for you, because all of these changes, in fact, do occur in the course of the alpha training. And then even more deeper changes occur in the theta training. Now, the question is, how do I know that this is the right program for me? Well, it turns out that there are many different kinds of knowing. There's the rational and intellectual knowing. There's the gut feeling. And then there's the heart. What does your heart tell you? The famous French mathematician, philosopher Blaise Pascal said, "The heart hath reasons that the reason knows not of." And so, tell you a story there. We had, there was I can share the person's name. It was Roger McKinley. He had sold his company, an engineering company, and now he wanted to get into consciousness, and he found me. And so he came and wanted to know all about the training. And his conversation as a typical engineer, what's the value proposition? And so I would go through all of the research and talk about the benefits, and then he would absorb that. And then, 3-4 days later, he'd be back and he'd want to know more about the value proposition. This went on for probably 5 or 6 meetings, and he was no closer to deciding to do the training. Then he brought his wife and daughter to the training center. The wife walked in and she looked around and she felt the energy. And in 15 seconds, she said, "Roger, we're doing this training." So how do you know? Well, again, there's lots of intellectual reasons to do the training. The increase in IQ, the increase in creativity, the increase in emotional intelligence, the reductions of negative qualities of personality, the improvements of vigor and enthusiasm and joy and happiness. All of these are reasons that suit the intellect. But then there's also the gut and the heart. And so one of the things to ask yourself is, am I interested in, and am I ready for change? And if so, you are a perfect candidate for the Biocybernaut training.
But Dr. Hardt, I think there's something really important, and I got to ask you, there's so many personal development programs out there that say they're going to change you, and you go to a weekend seminar or a week away and you come back with this feeling of gusto. But how do we really know? Is there scientific evidence that's going to say that I'm going to increase my IQ, my creativity, or make those changes?
Oh, yes. Well, in fact, in the Global Consciousness Summit, I reported that 1.0 that we just participated in. I presented the work on the IQ changes. And it's clear from the data that the increase in both verbal IQ and mathematical and logical IQ, the gains are consistent and sustainable for as far out as we have looked, which is a year. Now, we know in learning theory that retention, how long you retain something, is a function of how much overlearning you do. And so we also know at Biocybernaut that brainwaves rule. And so if you go to a dance and you have a good time, you probably have an increase in your alpha waves. But the thing is that if you aren't at the dance, you aren't in that setting, maybe you don't have those alpha waves. Whereas what you learn in the Biocybernaut training is how to turn on the alpha waves regardless of what you're thinking and feeling. People can have ego attacks, often on day 3 in the alpha training. And so ego will try to come in and sabotage, and you learn how to work through that. And so what you learn is a skill for how you can turn on and how you can sustain your alpha. And you also do a lot of training, more in the premium double than in the single. But the reason that the results last is because you're changing your brainwaves, which are the core of everything that relates to what you think and feel and experience.
That's absolutely amazing. Sorry, I got a light flashing behind me. One of the things that I've always thought was fascinating when I got interested in Biocybernaut myself was, we look at time and when we go somewhere and how we invest in our own growth and education. And the fact that the Biocybernaut training is backed by peer-reviewed science. This is not theory. This is not hocus pocus. We hope it works. Good luck. We'll motivate you. So you're motivated until 2 days into the office. This is permanent, lasting change that is backed by science and often in double-blind peer-reviewed studies that you've published.
Yes, I've done a federally funded National Institute of Mental Health, gold standard, double-blind study, where we did 6-month follow-ups and 12-month follow-ups on the people. And to our astonishment and delight, we found that, of course, they were better at the end of the week of training than they were before. But 6 months later, they were better than the day after the training. And 12 months later, they were better than they were at 6 months after. So what people are learning is a new way of being in the world, a new way of perceiving, a new way of processing information that comes into their brain. And as you continue doing this, you make continual improvements in your beingness.
I absolutely love it, as you know. Well, Dr. Hardt, thank you so much for being here. As always, sharing your knowledge with the world. I greatly appreciate you and all that you're doing.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks so much for your help in the work.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Tony Robbins. Listen, if you are looking to improve your brain, your psyche, your ability, your emotions, your ability to really maximize your performance, and you want to really dig into your brain, my dear friend, Dr. Jim Hardt, and his Biocybernaut program is extraordinary. I've been through it myself. My wife Sage has, members of my family have, and we found it to be truly extraordinary. But it is not for the faint at heart. Unless you're dead serious about really taking things to the next level, don't bother. We went through the Alpha program designed to maximize your ability to create alpha waves. And it was challenging and it was incredibly rewarding. And I'd recommend it to anybody serious about improving the quality of their lives or including the quality of their family lives as well. So check out Cybernaut, check out Dr. Jim Hardt. And if you do, I think you'll be really, really pleased. And the entire time you are learning to think and how you think these electrodes create sounds. And you learn how to put yourself in the zone of alpha. But it's a bitch. It's horrible. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody that wants easy experiences, but I'd recommend it to anybody that wants to grow immensely. And by the first day, I'm like, who do I got to shoot to get out of this thing? Oh, it's me. I'm the one that did this shit. Right? But by the end of the week, all three of us were able to go into this state of alpha. And if you're familiar with alpha, the best way I can describe alpha is there's no problem that can't be solved in alpha. Because every problem that we have was created by us.
Thank you for being here and absorbing this information about the science of brainwaves and about the stories of people whose lives have been beneficially altered, improved by doing brainwave training at Biocybernaut. And now I'm reaching out to you to invite you to come and be a part of the Biocybernaut adventure. Biocybernauts are to inner space what astronauts are to outer space. So come and adventure with us. And if you'd like to leave a comment on the videos, you can do that, or there's a link you can click if you'd like to learn more. We welcome you to Biocybernaut.